Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone.
Wednesday afternoon, here with you again. I have really two items that we're going to discuss today.
Yep, two.
The first one is talking about some conversations that I've had recently with people who received their PPP, the Payroll Protection
Oh,
Program.
I need to tell you, I have a candle lit for mindfulness.
Mindfulness, there you go.
Mindfulness. There.
We wish you mindfulness.
Yes, we do.
Anyway, what we wanted to talk about a little bit is talk about that situation with the Payroll Protection Program loans that quite a few of you have received now and are in the process of looking at and calling back your staffs. And so in addition to that, we're going to speak to the timeline that Terry's put together that we're just starting to build for the comeback. Mm-hmm. So with that, we're going to get started.
Okay.
Last night around 8 o'clock, I got a phone call, and it was one of our dear friends and terrific clients that I talked to a lot. And so they were, it was Tuesday night. On Saturday, I talked to them. They were driving to their salon, and on Monday morning, they were going to do their first payroll since this all started. They had received their PPP loan. They called everybody back. They really felt like it was going to be an awesome, exciting, balloons in the air and bands playing, everything. As you might imagine, you'd feel as a business owner to be able to call your team back from furlough. And by Tuesday night, it had turned into a situation where there was some misunderstanding. There was some undertone of maybe people not feeling so good about what had happened or feeling like an opportunity had been taken away from them. So here's the case in point. Remember when we talked about the CARES Act and we talked about the different facets of it, the PPP loan, the EIDL, the additional weeks of unemployment comp that were going to be approved, the additional unemployment compensation that was going to be approved to whatever they got from the state. Then the government, as part of the CARES Act, was going to add $600 to that per week. And Illinois is in one of the states, as is Indiana, where it's 26 weeks worth of that benefit. So we kind of threw the question mark that this could be interesting or this could be challenging when it comes time to call people back, because there are cases where their unemployment, especially for your new people, your newer people, your trainees, your service desk, your any technicians or assistants that you have, those people that have not yet kind of built their book, they're not your top dollar producers, where they're making more money on unemployment plus the benefit from the CARES Act, $600 a week, than they would make coming back to work for full time. So in this case, that was not an issue when this particular salon put in for their PPP loan. They didn't know of that. It was done very well intended with a heart as big as Illinois, and it was very kind of heartbreaking when this particular salon thought maybe they had not done the right thing, but they certainly didn't do the wrong thing, and they didn't do it intentionally. Their intentions were pristine. Mm-hmm. And many of you might be in the same situation. So I just want to talk through what I would do and what we will do as PSC, because we have that same situation potentially should we wind up being awarded the PPP loan.
So the question is that I keep asking you over and over again, and I'm not even certain if I have the answer. If you are granted the PPO dollars loan, right? Does that mean you have to bring everyone back on payroll, or can you stage it and phase it in?
You can stage it and phase it in.
Well,
You may not be able to have all of it forgiven, but that's okay too. So, and I think that's what the overall thought process was originally for the PPP loan, was that they would award it and these business owners would call back their entire staffs. Well, here's a challenge with that. Right now, whether they're on unemployment compensation or whether they're receiving a paycheck from your business, they're not working.
There's still no service to be
Right,
done.
we're still under a stay-at-home order, and probably will be now for the next, who knows, 4 weeks or so, at
So
least.
once you get it, do you have a certain amount of time that you have to take advantage of it?
Right now, there's an end date. Yes, you do have to close on the loan, and you do have to take the money, and there's some reporting requirements and so on.
I just don't understand why they would think, unless your doors are open. Here's, just logically thinking through it. I mean, I know I want to be able to pay people again, but we also, in order to pay people, the only thing we don't, because we don't have an open date,
Right.
you could run out of funds before we open, right?
Absolutely.
So why can't you just have those dollars be put ready to when you get closer to the opening?
Well, here's the challenge.
And I understand this too, but it's a question everyone's asking.
The challenge is that it looks like, remember, we were allowed 2.5 months worth of payroll as the max for this loan. So if you figure that 75% of that money needs to go toward payroll in order to be fully forgiven, and knowing that, people think, oh my gosh, I've got to bring everybody back. I've got 2 months worth of payroll that's going to be handled, and the other half a month's worth of payroll is going to go to pay for, rent and insurances and things of that nature.
Utilities, yep.
Utilities. The government hasn't told us 100% how they're going to compute the forgiveness.
Or the usage.
They've told us a little bit more. They've changed it several times, but they've told us a little bit more. The reality is, until we know when we're going back, that's still a big question mark. If this somehow spiked again after we're allowed back, and it could be a nightmare. So the key is, and this is where Terry's part of today comes in with the Project Comeback, to be thinking about this in advance. So here's what we would do. First of all, you need either you, your accountant, or your financial advisor to look at your payroll and give you their list of exactly, if you've got 15 people on that list, or 30 people on that list, or 90 people on that list. List every name, what we're thinking that they are approved for, what we know they're approved for from unemployment compensation, plus the $600, and then look and say what their average pay period is with you, and see of that group of people who is making more working and who's making more that currently on unemployment with this CARES bonus. Then you know kind of the size of you can make informed decisions. That's all we ask. Make informed decisions, but you've got to have actual facts. The facts you don't have is how they're going to compute forgiveness. But remember, even if you've got to make a smart business decision whether this loan is forgiven or not. You might not get the whole 75% that they're willing to forgive, but it converts into a 1% note paid back over 2 years. So this is a doable thing, and I hung up the phone feeling terrible for this salon owner, and thank God I got a call an hour later after they'd met with the entire staff on Zoom, and the staff understood it, they supported it, they even pointed out some great things that said, you know what, on unemployment, our Social Security wasn't contributed to, you contribute to our Social Security, our unemployment wasn't paid, our taxes weren't taken, we were going to have to take them later out of that. This actually is better for us. And you know what I said to my friend was, that's a real tribute to your leadership, first of all, that they were willing to, first of all, give you the benefit of the doubt. Second of all, think it through.
And listen. Yep.
And listen. And third of all, realize they're in great hands with you. And so, you know, I will put that with an article that's on CNBC from two salon and spa owner in the state of Washington, who really had the same thing, but it didn't turn out the same way. Her frustration is a national news story. And what she said was, it was a firestorm of hatred about the situation. Those are strong words. That's the way her staff responded to her. Now, I'm not telling you who this salon owner is. I don't know them. I don't know any of the background. But I'm going to say that with the proper thought process going into it, and with the proper leadership before it, and with the willingness to kind of sit in that situation face to face with your team and be honest with them, I think the result could be different. But the reality is this, and she said something later in this that said, on what planet am I competing with unemployment? In other words, what planet am I on? Here I am trying to do the right thing for my team, and I'm competing with unemployment because they see this money as a windfall, and now they're going to miss out on it. And the reality is, we're a salon team. We're working together. We're working toward a common goal and a dream, and this unforeseen thing happened. Nobody thought 2020 was going to start like this, that the first half of 2020 could potentially be submarined by the coronavirus. And nobody planned to take that money. No, Congress didn't plan to appropriate that money. The president didn't plan to sign that money over. So here we all are doing the best we can with what's in front of us. If you'll remember, when the president signed that CARES Act, it was 885 pages. Who could possibly have known? There are still things coming out today that we discover for the first time that's in that CARES Act. It was all signed on that same date, but it's not all understood, digested, implemented, rules put together, the way to actually roll it out. So there's a lot that's happening. There's a lot that's going to continue to happen. But just right now, do your homework and figure out who's ahead, who's better on unemployment, because that's peace of mind as an owner too. If I know somebody's right now doing as well or better on unemployment as when they were employed here, it gives you that flexibility to bring back people in segments or waves based on the business need and based on what you can do in your comeback. All we're saying. So PPP loan is still it's a good thing. It's you know, had some misuses, great uses. The salons that have got it are congratulations and wonderful, and it's exciting. It's not, nobody won the lottery. It's not free money, and free money I can do whatever I want. It's for a specific purpose, and you knew that, and that's why you went for it. And I would just say, if you haven't called everybody back, think about how you're going to call them back. Because one thing is for sure, the minute you call them back, and if they say no, their unemployment benefit goes away. So it's either leave them on unemployment or bring them back. But you can't bring them back, find out, oh, they're making less, now put them back on unemployment, because that doesn't work.
And then the part that I don't get still is how many payrolls. I mean, you're really banking on 2.5 months this thing's going to be doors open and we're creating revenue again. You know, that scares me. I mean, that's a little bit of Russian roulette to me when you're trying to play with the clock and time, because you could be in the same situation where you have no funds after this is all over and you called everyone back. Can you, how much time can you wait right now? Because let's say you filed and you were approved and received the check. When do you have to start using it?
You don't have to.
Good.
You have to close on it within 10 days.
Okay, we're
once
closing on it.
Once you've been awarded on it, you have to close on it within 10 days, and then that time clock starts
Well,
with an
see,
outside edge of June 30th.
No, the outside edge of June 30th I'm okay with, because hopefully, we're hoping to be back by June 30th. But here's what I'm thinking. What happens if we open the doors and we spend all this payroll and the consumer's afraid to return? There's still hesitation. We have no cushion.
Mm-hmm.
That scares me a little bit. I would rather hold off on it, stay on unemployment, versus having to lay off later on because we don't have the revenue yet.
Well, which is why we're saying a lot of the things we're saying as far as bringing people back in waves.
Right. So, and we're going to talk about that on here, but it's hard because guess what? I mean, we love these people. Everybody does. And who do you invite back? Who do you not invite back? And who's going to take it personally? And how do you say it's just business and we're protecting you and protecting us?
You say all that, and you stay in contact.
I know, but people still keep score. So it's tough. But anyway, good. Are you done?
Well, I'm not done. I've always got something to say.
No, meaning this topic.
I'm done with this topic and ready for you to take your topic.
Well, no, we're doing this together because this is draft one. And the first thing I want you to know is this isn't pretty yet. It's the start of a functional document and something that will give you, at a glance, I want you to maybe take pictures of it, and then we'll be adding to it ongoing as see fit. I just showed it to Steve and he said, I've got a lot to add to that, which I'm delighted. I don't want it to be so big and bulky like it's 865 pages to get back and open the salon, but I'm just thinking the timeline and how I would position it. So if we start with draft one, are we going up?
Yes.
Is that up there now? Oh, good. Okay, so first of all, it's the financial support, and I already have a typo. The PPP was listed, the EDIL versus IDIL, and then the one you wanted to talk about, the Main Street loan. You want to give any?
The new Main Street loan.
So I need to add that to it, but go ahead.
But that really only applies to the largest of salons that are out there, multiple unit salons.
Okay.
Where your earnings times 4 would equal at least $1 million.
And so when you look at this, first of all, we just want to make sure, because we're still hearing that people have not taken advantage of this. They get overwhelmed by what's going to be needed of them, and they're just not document people. Please make sure, once again, you're entitled to this, your business needs it, and the financial support, I'm hoping you have that in your back pocket, already done and waiting for, or have already received. Okay.
Well, let's take that entitled word out, because I know we fight that a lot.
No,
you're eligible for
eligible.
it. It was designed for the small business in mind. Certainly those first two. And with this refunding, reloading the funds from the CARES Act, specifically for the PPP and the EIDL, that is what's designed for small business. That's what we all, felt so bad when we started reading the news articles about who actually received it, and it wasn't small business.
No.
So this is a necessary thing.
But some people are trying to make that right. Okay, so let's go to the second one. Education that needs to be done during this time. I mean, of course, any education that you think is necessary as a salon, but all staff barbicide certification status, it's free. Someone said to me, well, is that going to be costly? How can I afford that when I'm not open? It's free. So ask your people to do it and make sure that they receive their certification. And then you could even list that up and do a social media blitz with that.
A lot of salons have done that.
Right?
You're seeing it all over social media.
Good. Okay, so that's number 2. Now we're going to look at the project setback. We don't know what your state's going to require.
Project comeback.
What did I say?
Setback. Project setback is is COVID-19. That's
I
project
am so
setback.
sorry. Blooper. But compliance might be out of our control in some ways. And so I'm thinking you have to think of different scenarios at this time. Meaning, as I've listed here, this could be in respect to number of occupants per square foot. So the state might deem that. This could be based on social professional distancing. They might say that. And then your stations, you're going to see where I go with this when I talk about salon layout, but we don't know what your state's going to do. Janet sent me a message about Denver, and you can only have 10 people in the building at a time in that area. So when it says number of occupants, I mean, 10 people, does that mean 10 customers? Does that mean 10 staff altogether?
Total.
Total. So if you have a front desk person, someone will say, well, I need the 5 hairdressers. So I'm going to bring 5 hairdressers in. We'll be the receptionist too, and 5 customers at a time. Well, see, look how you have to start thinking just based on that scenario. And I really think that the states that are opening too quickly are going to be probably a little bit tighter on this than we will have if the states wait a little longer, because they'll have more history and they'll be able to adapt what other people have done, right? Mm-hmm. But at first, I think it's going to be as tight as it can be. All right, that's just my opinion, doesn't mean it's true. Okay, let's go to scheduling and labor phase. We talked about it a little bit, but what we are encouraging to do, not only, and we've said this already, but not only doing Zoom meetings, but when it's time, when you feel like you're getting close to being able to have things be lifted a little bit, we really encourage you to bring everyone in masks and gloves and meet with your people face to face. They need some of that energy. I think this salon's next step is to bring everyone in together.
Yes.
Right? But he did a Zoom meeting at first, and then he'll figure out and feel out what should be his steps of creating that connection. The trial run we've talked about with family, first responders, open in phases. Once again, I want to reiterate this because we had some questions on it. Survey your team, because some cannot move until more is opened up. Meaning, once again, you've got until everything is opened up. We know schools aren't going to be in our area, but once things are opened up and people can start having daycare and other things as a form of support to their family, they're going to have a little bit more freedom in their schedule. Some will not be able to be part of your opening, even if they're in your top 5, right? So you have to do a survey with them to say who can come in right away, if we should open up, where are we at, or what do you think? And then the other thing I put on is some are just going to have too much fear to come back.
Yeah, and that's probably a chart. Again,
exactly.
Put your
spreadsheet.
Put your people down the left-hand side, and then give yourself 3 columns. And the one column is, do they have? You can make fear one column. You can make limitations such as children at home off of school, and questionable daycare.
Okay, you could have full availability, mixed availability, and no availability right away, right? And so you're looking at it. Also in that column, you could use that for charting, looking at where are they at on unemployment, where are they at, what Steve talked about earlier, and so you can see what that mix looks like. But see, here's the thing. We don't have to open with everyone. If we have the capability and we're able to, why not? But I think that we'll know more on this later on.
And some of the salons are of a thought process that they're going to bring back all of their top producers first. A good logical business move.
Well, and they still might not have availability.
Some salons are thinking, I'm going to use my same hours that I've always had, no additional hours. Others are saying, I'm going to go 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., whatever the case may be, because of the thought processes. There's so much pent-up demand that we're going to need to do that.
But you still have to manage your effort. You still have to have the energy and leadership.
Well, it wouldn't be the same people working a 10-hour shift.
I understand that, Steve, but still, the owner can burn out very quickly too.
The biggest thing to keep in mind is that once we come back, there are going to be additional people who come down with the coronavirus, right? And if they trace it back to the salon, they'll immediately put a quarantine on everyone who is working in that salon that day. So if you're in a situation, that's my understanding anyway. If I'm wrong, I'm sure I'll be corrected. But
I just don't know how they can prove it.
Well, yeah, how do they prove it? But if that's the case, and you've got all your top producers working at the same time, and then all of a sudden all your top producers get put on quarantine for 14 days, think of the number of reservations that have to be changed.
Well,
The
look at
amount
the
of
manpower and everything.
guest
that's going
interaction
with
that has to take place. So it's a lot to think about. I probably wouldn't pair all of those top producers on the same shift. I'd probably shift them differently so that you've got a good workout situation no matter what happens.
Perhaps, but see, that's another scenario. How many different scenarios do we need just thinking about scheduling, phasing in and phasing out, and looking at our labor, right? Because some of you might say, I mean, we can't afford to bring our assistants back right away. Of course you can't. Maybe your support staff stays on the unemployment.
So
Front desk.
top producers are doing their own shampoos. Top producers are doing their own
Well, that's why
touch-ups.
we're going to recommend one guest at a time because of all this. All right.
And one thing on this trial run, I think one of the most important things on a trial run is that you have the ability to call timeout. Someone has to be the spotters. Someone has to be a scribe that's writing what's working, what isn't working. Call timeout. Draw attention to something that isn't the comfortable workout, that isn't the right workout, and talk about it.
You tell me, with 10 people in a salon, who's going to be able to be, where's the forgiveness to have a scriber?
No, I'm talking about in the trial run.
I understand that, but even a trial run, 10 people.
Yeah.
See, you might have to throw out your trial run because you don't have enough people in there. Don't know yet. See, this is draft one. And we could go back and forth on this. It's a whole lot easier to say these are the systems we want in place, but we don't know what we can house right now.
Here's one thing that I want to say to both Illinois and Indiana.
I thought you were going to say to Terry.
Yeah, well, that'll be later. It appears in both states that the people that will be inspecting this process is going to be the Department of Health.
Which everyone's always been such a huge fan of.
Yeah. It's not going to...
Household name.
It's not going to be only your licensing board. And the reason I say that is because most salons and schools have become accustomed to the fact that you never see the licensing board.
Well, and this calls for an even higher level of inspection. Where's this manpower coming from?
Well, that's why it's going to look to
I agree.
the Department of Health.
But
And you're going to have a different set of eyes. In Indiana, they've given their Department of Health really strong powers to be able to find, to be able to write up, to be able to report them to their licensing body. There's a lot that's in the Indiana stay-at-home order already. What's going to be there when it comes time to
makes sense.
to go back to work is going to be something else. So don't get, what I'm saying is don't think, they're never going to
see it.
Because
They're
that's exactly when you're going to get called.
Well, I'm sure their compliance efforts is going to be held to a different standard during this time too, right? Okay, so let's go into the safety pledge. I found one, and so I'm just going to. It was for another industry. It was for the building industry, but I kind of like it, and it says, in our example here, AB Salon will focus each day on safety for our teammates, our salon work practices, and our guests, the traveling public, with a target zero goal for any and all safety hazards and risks. I liked it. And now, when you have a pledge like that, and you make the decisions we're going to recommend after this, I think it's who's not going to be in agreement knowing what you're trying to accomplish. So that's just an example. Many of you are better at writing how you want to communicate with your guest, but make sure it's very specific on what your commitment is, okay? So let's look at salon layout. And I was on this phone with Steve and salon owners yesterday, and I loved it. I loved the conversation. Number one, I've been in that salon. And number two, I was able to say, this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to give you a couple of examples for a second. Drill down. Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm going to give you a couple examples on this. And this is how I said it to them yesterday. When we were very, very busy in the restaurant industry, and I've said it to you before, Mother's Day, New Year's Eve, so on and so forth. I think there were 4 to 6 days a year. These 2 days, no square footage was off limits for us not to create another area for a guest to dine. So the lounge all became tables. No one could just go in and have a cocktail. The bar area, we took the bar stools out because we could get other tables right near the bar. Any other areas, we would tighten up a little bit and see, could we add 8 more seats to this dining room? Can we add 12 more seats to this dining room? So on and so forth. Okay, so what I want you to think about during this salon layout is look for opportunities to create more social and professional distancing during this time. So example, if you have a waiting area, remove it. Get all the furniture out during this time to create more distance in the salon, and possibly another station can come out that's too close and too tight somewhere else, could come into that area during this time. If you have a color processing area, remove it this time to create more distancing in the salon. Once again, if we're having one guest in at a time, we don't need a processing area. They can process right in the chair, and that slows down your moving parts, and it's another commitment to safety. If you can move stations around or add stations, meaning add to areas that we're going to remove right now because it's common area that we don't want to have exposure to, this would once again create. Yesterday we found a way to find 5 stations, did we not, during
Yes.
our conversation? And she said, I hadn't even thought of that. Go in there and say, what can we get rid of? Not forever, for
Well, it's
right
not
now.
5 stations jammed in. The reason why we need to put
'Cause they were
5
too
stations
tight.
where they weren't is because we need to create that social distance in between stations.
Right, and so, but we found an area for 5 more,
Right.
so we didn't have to lose some up front. Because let's say they're saying you have to have for every square foot, or you have to have 10 feet in between. She already had 2 stations that she lost just on one side. Well, we put them somewhere else. Now, the other thing is if you can move stations around, terrific. Even the shampoo room, think about that. How are you going to create disciplines at the shampoo area? And I'll talk about that in the next section. I think what I'm really encouraging to do is create a salon expediter. Now this might not happen immediately because of, once again, compliance by the state, but that you can move the guests to safely, easily. Now, what I mean by that is I would never allow someone to go to the shampoo bowl room by themselves. How often do we let guests walk around by themselves? We're not going to allow this during this time. And you're going to notice when we come back is we're going to limit our multiple relationships during this time and lock it down to maybe 1 or 2 people at the most. You'll see what I mean by that in a minute. This expediter that can move the guest around safely, there's things they can do. For example, they can do the checkouts, the check-ins by presenting things we're going to talk about in a minute. They could be walking to see how the shampoo areas are. Is there congestion? Can they say we're ready for our next guest? The powder rooms, they can alert people that it needs to be serviced because a guest was just in there. This expediter needs to walk the salon and control the traffic beautifully. They're going to be able to notice. Steve said earlier, it's a person that's watching and scribing. This is your expediter that's facilitating the business. If we lock down and have a purposeful front desk of scheduling, you're going to have room to have that expediter, who is usually behind the desk, to expedite the salon. So keep that in mind as we move forward in this. Let's go next to safety supplies. And once again, this is only draft 1. We want to be ordering disposable masks, disposable gloves, disposable capes and gowns, disinfectant, sanitizer, and disposable hand towels for powder room, because some of you have cloth towels in the powder room. Steve, do you want to talk about this area?
Well, the thing that's important is that there's going to be demand certainly for capes. Gowns, I really think the gowns you're going to need to come up with an alternate solution for. Either someone knowing in advance that they're not going to change into a color gown like they usually do, because the sanitation of those and keeping the change room acceptable and sanitized in this time,
Yeah, tell them
isn't going to be that easy.
wear your dad's old flannel shirt.
The
right?
thing that I'm not, and I've heard it as a suggestion, so you're going to read it out there, or you're going to hear it from somebody out there. Some people are saying, have the guests come in with their hair already shampooed. Have them come in with wet hair already shampooed, so we don't have to take them to the shampoo area. Not a bad thought, but not what we do. You know, pretty soon we're going to be saying, have them shampoo, have them trim it up, and then we'll come in and, you know, I mean, it can go too far.
Well, plus we don't know what shampoo they're using.
Right. So that, and then what about the blow dryer? Do we let them leave with wet hair? Do we really want to run blow dryers? We could be moving air that's, you know what? Let's plan for everything. But let's also realize that these people waited for you in some cases, in many cases, and they missed you. And we can't take away the reward for that, which is their time with you, right? So there's a lot that's going to happen with that. So when you look at what's commonly referred to by the governors around the country as PPE, personal protection equipment, Terry posted yesterday something from Mayo Clinic that talked about if no masks are worn, if one person wears a mask and the other one doesn't, or if both people wear a mask. And in a situation where both people wear a mask, there's only a 1.5% chance of transferring
Yeah,
a
and
virus.
one of my friends said, well, there's 0 chance if you don't leave the house. Okay, I get it. But I was talking about comebacks, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't talking about staying home. God bless my friends. But I'm talking about knowing that we're going to have that or ask of that support because it falls into our pledge.
And so you run into things like hand sanitizer. What happens?
What did you call that? Personal PPE?
Personal protection equipment.
Protection equipment. Okay.
So, what if we get this outline of how we're going to be allowed back in to open our businesses and you can't get all the things that you need? I mean, God bless Georgia right now. They are scrambling. They had 2-day notice on this.
Yeah, they get to open on
go
Friday.
from closed to open. And so it's it's a challenge. And so this is why we're saying with some urgency, we think about this now. And we can't get to that point and say, oh my God, I need hand sanitizer. Oh my God, I've got to have masks. Oh my.
It's like those people that Christmas shows up and you act like you didn't get the memo.
I'm never surprised by that.
No, you act like, what? We have to do that by the 25th? So we have a lot to do.
Yes.
Good. Okay, can we do the service differences?
Yes.
Okay, so these are all the things that are going to be different than what your guest usually experiences from the salon. Make a list of all of them. We started putting some in here for an example. I'm sure you have more to add to it or some that you want to eliminate from this, but I love this. First of all, we're not going to be doing any shaking of hands or salon hugs by design for safety.
Bummer.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But we have to explain it. And maybe we even say, these are the differences we're asking you for safety. Limited relationships, touches by design. We're having one guest in here at a time, so our service provider can be dedicated to you, and maybe an expediter will come in contact with you, but you're not going to have 5 or 6 or 7 people taking care of you, right? We're going to limit those touches. We're going to do a limited menu for the first 30 to 90 days, maybe. Cutting and grooming, salon touch-ups, maybe waxing and spot. You need to determine what that limited looks like. And once again, it's to really perfect your efficiencies. Limited guest count, 1 guest per service provider at a time. Example, parents would have to wait for their child in the car. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all right.
The parking lot, and that's pretty universal.
Yes.
Everything, that I've been reading lately about all different industries planning their comeback, the parking lot is becoming the waiting room.
Good.
Everywhere.
As it should be.
So think about your space too. As Terry said earlier, if that waiting room no longer has to be a waiting room, how are you going to use that space?
Get it out of there and maybe move retail over, and maybe you've got different things you've got to create, right? One of the salons has a coffee area, and they have a sink at their coffee area. They're going to tear down the coffee area, meaning pull it out, but the sink is going to be used for hand washing. All right. The check-in process, there'll be no common area for waiting. Parking lot will serve as a waiting area. Another one is no beverage service. offerings.
And a lot of the ways that I'm seeing this referred to is common touch areas.
Good.
Common touch areas and common touch items.
So magazines, everything else.
Magazines, any pamphlets, brochures, any testers, even testers that are set up in your take-home area for retail, those have to come down. They're common touch items. And again, that's another thing that I'm seeing pretty common amongst all the different models.
Another thing that we would be asking is all guests and team will be required to be in masks and gloves. They'll be provided by on-site, right?
Yes.
So when you have someone walking in the door, the first thing we say, hello, welcome to the salon. Here's your mask.
For
Here's
your
gloves.
safety.
For your safety. Here's your mask and here are your gloves.
And also, that could be a time where you say that all of our stylists or technicians will sanitize their hands in front of you and apply fresh gloves for every single service that they do.
Mm-hmm. And that's another reason we're trying to stay with that one guest the entire time, because they'll be watching that.
Sure they will.
Good. The next thing is new gloves will be put on for every guest,
Mm-hmm.
which Steve just said. I like this one too. This chair was sanitized and disinfected in preparation for new guests. You could even have that on a stand or a sheet of paper or a cardboard tent. And so when they go, you know that chair is prepared and ready for the new guest.
And so that you know, on our Facebook page, and I think in our Instagram story, we posted the Barbicide comeback list, and we also posted a way to keep chairs sanitized. And so both of those lists are out there. The chair sanitization came from Belvedere and Maletti, and the other sanitation items came from Barbicide.
But the nice notice on there, whoever serviced it, it could be the stylist herself because she's only got one guest at a time. It could be a teammate, but everyone knows. No one's to sit in this chair unless they know visually that it's been prepared for them. All products will be wiped down before using on a guest, so there probably needs to be wipes of some kind. If I go to the common area and pick up a foam or I come over, I'm going to wipe it off and then use it on the guest.
You know what, this is something we haven't said yet, but your whole team is going to have to be open-minded and purposeful when it comes to being able to do things that A, they haven't done before, and B, that they might not think is in their job description.
Well, and they could be in the zone so much, they've done it for so long that they have to really go to the consciously competent to be able to pull this off, versus unconsciously just doing what they've always done. Shampoo bowls will be sanitized and disinfected in preparation for the new guest. Same rules apply. All tools will be wiped down after each guest, so that blow dryer and such, it needs to be wiped down. Even though you're the hairdresser's the only one that touched it, not in the guest's eyes.
That's right, and it's not just that, it's also the filter that probably needs to be cleaned or you know, kind of a mini vacuum that takes that out of there. And I think you're gonna need more combs and brushes than ever before.
Yeah, you said that the other day, and I was surprised at that, but it makes total sense. And how are we going to manage that?
Yeah.
Right?
It means that probably half of your equipment is going to be being soap sanitized while you're using some of the other.
And it might be you have a day's worth, and then they soak overnight. You know, you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
Okay, so the checkout process, number N, or item N, I'm not there yet because we want to use technology.
And we have to shoot. The goal is paperless,
Right.
touchless checkout.
And easy to do, easy to understand, easy to be able to facilitate and ask. We want to be able to use this anyway. So we're going to come back to N because we want to put more thought into it. And we might even be asking you to, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go through that and later on. Okay, service steps. Once again, you're going to go back now. These are the service steps you can expect. These are the ones that are different. These are the ones that are going to be happening throughout. Parking lot will serve as your waiting area. Guests will text you once they arrive on property. Salon will text guests once they're ready for them to enter salon. Guests will be greeted at door and asked to put a mask on and gloves upon entry. Guests will be greeted by their service provider and escorted back to the prepare disinfected station. Hairdressers will what? Oh,
You know what?
that's
I mean,
new
here's
gloves.
something that just popped into my mind, and this is going
New
to happen.
gloves. F is new gloves.
This is going to happen, I promise you. The salon's going to need to have a pretty good supply of umbrellas. Can you see asking someone to walk in their child, and they might be walking in the rain, and then walk back out in the rain to their car to wait, and then come back in the rain to get, we're coming into rainy season.
I wouldn't be upset with that, especially during this
I
time.
think a salon client would.
Okay, well,
Something
you
to
guys
think about.
evaluate
Maybe it's
that.
your plus. I mean, some of you escort the guest in those situations. That doesn't work for social distance. So how do you have an abundance of maybe really nice umbrellas for the guest?
So F is hairdressers will be putting on fresh gloves and sanitizing hands and putting on fresh gloves in front of the guests. They'll conduct their consultation. Clear by expediter to enter shampoo room. You just don't go back there with someone because there could be a bottleneck. We'd be making eye contact with the expediter and they'll say, we have room for you now, right? Mm-hmm. The next one is you deliver the shampoo service. Massage done upon return to the chair. We don't want them in that common shampoo room a very long time. So we're suggesting that any of the extras be done at the chair. We're going to then do the grooming or color or waxing or spa service. Color processing will take place in the chair. Once again, they don't need to go somewhere else. We're locking them right in with us. Here's what's happening during processing. This isn't break time. This is other safety and sanitation duties could be contributed during this time by the staff while that guest is processing. Don't feel an absolute need to entertain the guest during this time. I know this is taking a team effort. I'm talking as a consumer right now. I don't expect you to be right there with me. And I also am going to be really impressed to see the teamwork during this time, right? The next one is take home and rescheduling will be facilitated by the expediter.
Facilitated
Sorry,
by the expediter.
On the iPad or technology. We're going to come back to M and N. But what I can tell you about M and N, because we're coming back, is I really want you to look at that last one, the checkout determination for safety. As committed to safety as stations and shampoo area. I mean, we can't have this absolute commitment to safety and sanitation and get up to the front desk and it just be open.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So we need to know, are we creating safety? Is our message of safety as key right now
And
at the front desk as it is everywhere else in the salon?
I'm still going to say that front desk are the people in the business, in the whole business, that are going to come in contact with the most different people throughout the day. So we can't have that front service desk be kind of an unthought process.
No,
It's
and
got to
that's
be
why-
very well thought out.
Well, and the expediter can help, or are we going to ask the staff to check out their guests right at the chair, which, they hate it. They absolutely hate it, but it might be a way. This is why the checkout procedure I'm not totally comfortable with. At my age, I'm totally comfortable with the checkout. I could do the checkout right now. Someone in their 20s,
You know what?
it's not easy.
Something to think about because of the average age group, and we've said this, I don't know that it's exactly the right thing, but I think you need to look into it right now. And that's Venmo business. These young people, you would
Well, yeah, how about we have a
Even
tutor
our
for
tutor.
Jack. Well, yeah, we have a tutor for Jack. Well, of course, I didn't know what she was talking about. And I said, hi. She goes, Terry, so you don't have to write a check? Okay. She said, can you do Venmo? I said, whoa, what? I didn't know what she was talking about. And she said, it'll just make it easier. Here, I can do that. And then I said, I'll have Steve call you. I mean, he loves all that stuff too. And then they set it up. But they're very, very comfortable with it. But where's the Venmo when it comes to gratuities?
That's why it's a business.
But-
Yeah, you can. I don't know.
Okay, but we need to look into it. But we're not ready for the checkout yet. We want to put some more thoughts and disciplines. But this is a really good start. I would like you to add things. And Facebook, is there questions for us or anything? Good. They don't have any. But I hope this is a good start in the fact that we want to look at as financial support, education, compliance, scheduling labor, phasing people in, safety pledge, salon layout, the service differences. Where'd it go? Well, I lost it.
back.
Oh, the service differences, then the new service steps. I think that these are the 9 topics that we're using right now that you need to go down and explode the thought process out in your business. There's another thing you can do is list all of the opportunities right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then next to it, what are our challenges right now? And I'm going to tell you, once you start getting into an opportunity-based mindset, you don't see your challenges as much. You just see improvement or new disciplines, or this is what I have to do now. I mean, 4 days ago or 3 days ago, I stopped drinking soda again. I did it for 2 years, felt so much better. I don't know how I got back to it. So 3 days ago, I stopped. I just said, you know, it just doesn't taste as good, and you know, you can start doing a lot of that and not having enough water. So that's my new thing. I said it publicly. Those first couple of days are tough. Last night you said, does anyone want a soda for dinner? Ooh, no, I want water or iced tea or something. It's a hard habit to break where you're so used to it. Once again, the other thing we're going to be talking about is next time as we add to this is how are we going to give people breaks? How are we going to give them deep breaths during the day? Where are we going to provide that at? And so we're going to add more things as we go along. But I think this is a good start. Just
Great
to
start. Great start.
Just start to think about these 9 different topics.
I've got to tell you, when I said to you, Tara, I got a lot of things to add to it. This is what I thought was there. It's a one page and 3 things at the top of the next page. It wasn't until we were in this that I realized, hey, there's a whole back page.
Oh, good. So, but still.
So there's still a lot we can add, but it's a lot more thorough than what I had originally thought when we sat down.
But look
so.
at the 9 topics.
Yeah,
I think
they're all
that's
right
that's what's key. And how are you asking them? Another thing under education I forgot to put down is ask them to start practicing with gloves now.
Yeah.
And
Just sectioning and
sectioning and
working through the hair, just to get
see
that
what it
feel.
feels like.
And I would suggest that they use not only nitrile gloves, but also vinyl gloves, because nitrile is going to be a hot commodity that's going to be difficult to get. We already know that. So with that, I want to say here we are. We're further in this stay-at-home order than we ever dreamed we would be.
And it looks like in Illinois, ours will be extended.
Yes.
We don't know in Indiana. Those are the 2 states we service. But
Listen to
we've got a
both
lot.
governors today, and we're kind of on the same
Good.
path.
We've got a lot of listeners from every area.
Yeah.
And what I hope happens is if those are from Georgia and anyone, if you can pass this information along to a friend, these 9 things have to be thought about before you open, and make the list your own. And also, get lost in. Some people, I'm not good with words. Your heart, let it sing to you. What is your safety pledge? Start there and then work through the business.
And I hope you realize the intention that we have with this whole series that we've done. This isn't about how do we sell you more. There hasn't been a sales pitch in this entire.
I've got a couple things I could sell.
We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah,
Might
okay.
Not be appropriate.
Thank you. Yeah, that's not appropriate.
What I want you to know though is.
No, I didn't mean that,
I
Stephen
know, I'm
Allen.
teasing
Okay.
you. We watched too many bloopers with
Yes.
Jack.
Bloopers and blue bloods.
Yeah. So I just want you to know, first of all, that we're grateful for you. We honor you for all the things that you're going through with grace and real resolve. We want to encourage you to continue to think, continue to fight off any fear that might exist.
Yeah.
And
stop those warrior demons right now.
substitute that with faith wherever you can. Know
And-
that together we're going to get through this. The beauty industry always has. And yes,
and let us know how this list spoke to you. I'm hoping it gave you some comfort. Comfort of a plan.
Thank you. We love all of you.
Take care. Peace out. See you when?
Peace out. See you.
See you
Okay.
Friday. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.